We're still figuring out how to get this thing to behave. And that's going to work out in time. The joys of technology, it's here to make our lives easier, but it doesn't always work that way. Be aware of that. On this, I do have the chat open. The lobby's open for anyone who wants to join via Zoom. We're going to officially start in about 5 minutes. Let's go through here. We're going to change the setup slightly. That is full screen. Okay. We're just waiting a moment on the technology to catch up with us. By the way, if any of you ever go into computer coding, keeping the settings for the individual setup and preferences in the local cookies is a dumb thing. It causes this repeatedly to pop up because there are people like me who every time we log off, we remove cookies because while they say they're cookies, they're not the same thing. Cookies are something I tend to like and gets my doctor upset at me for eating too much of. The stuff they leave on my computer is designed to track every little thing I do, that I ever said, thought, or whatever. So if you ever find yourself in a position where you are a programmer and you get to choose whether the preferences are stored on the client side or on the server side, store their preferences on the server side, please, for stuff like that. It's a lot better for us, the end user. I'm finding, I don't know why, but I'm finding that things are becoming less and less user-friendly. I don't know why. Maybe it's my age. When I was young, I was a hacker and I was the kid who was a whiz at everything. I thought old people who couldn't set their clock microwave or microwave clock things were special. Now when my cell phone acts up and I'm like, why is it not doing this? I'll have my teenager come and do it. And she looks at me and, Dad, hello. And I'm like, I just did that exact same movement and nothing. But you didn't do it right. This makes no sense. The joys of technology. All right, so in our classroom scope and sequence where we are supposed to be today, you'll notice that there's a few weeks that we're going through things faster and a few that we're going through things slower. That's a very intentional thing. The reason I do that is so that at any time, if the majority of the class struggles with something, I can slam on the brakes and we can cover that topic multiple times. Right now, I'm not sure what's going on, but on coursework, most people are not keeping up, but they're not asking me for additional help in those areas. So it makes me question what's going on. I'm going to assume it's a lack of familiarity with the platform and things like that, because I'd rather assume that everyone's doing their best and keeping up and whatnot. But remember, this is a math class. If you do not keep up with the class, you will feel lost. You will quickly feel left behind. You've got to do the homework with fidelity. Don't use your calculator to do the homework. Use it to check your homework. And even then, I use a computer program so it'll check it for you and give you that immediate feedback that we find is so powerful. So today we'll kind of do a bit of a primer for the course for anyone who's joined a little bit later, those kind of things. If you do not have access to this Canvas, please email Scott. His email is scott.perkins@ironmail.org, or you're welcome to stop by in person and talk to him. The reason we use Canvas is simple. The local colleges and tech colleges use the Canvas system. Your familiarity now will save you grief later is the goal by using it here. This first assignment, this is in the introduction. It's called Honoring the Journey. Please note that this is here for your reference. This is just more about me, why I do the things that I do. I feel that if you understand the human behind something, you'll get a better understanding of why they do what they do. In education, you often had teachers, if your experience was like mine, that you were wondering, why is this person even allowed around humans my age? Why is this person allowed around humans like me? They treat me like I'm dumb or like I'll never understand things. Whatever the case may be, well, this is my journey and I honor it by being here as a teacher. I ask that you honor your journey and where you're at in it. Never live in a world of shoulds and should nots, because I should have graduated high school the traditional way, but I didn't. I should have done all these things. You know what? If I did what I should have, I never would have had the experiences that I've had that have led me to this point. So I'd rather honor the choices, good and bad, that I've made with a goal at saying, I'm going to be the best human possible. And I'm not going to let what's happened in the past determine future outcomes. The next is an explanation on the course of how to be an effective student. This is especially important for anyone who's looking to go on to trade school or college. You know, it's a huge deal. And I start out by pointing out one of the favorite things that we love to say in statistics, and that is correlation does not equal causation. Just because two things correlate does not mean one caused the other. And that confuses some people, but just because a guy wears a red hat when buying a lotto ticket and wins once does not mean wearing that red hat will affect whether or not they win again. We as humans look for patterns. It's in our nature. With that in mind, here are things that we have found statistically lead to the outcomes people enjoy, people are seeking when they come here. And so let's start with consistency. If you set aside time in your schedule to be consistent with something, you'll get it done, whatever it is. Show me where you spend your time, I'll show you what matters to you. Homework. If you don't do the homework, you are significantly less likely to succeed in your goals. I assign homework not because I want to torture you with work. Trust me, there's much easier ways of doing it than going through using this program and things. I could assign you worksheets for days, but they've been proven statistically ineffective for what I want to do, which is teach. And not all, but the vast majority. So the way I look at it is, if you go to the gym and you sit in the back of spin class, you're eating chips the whole time, you're not going to get the physique you want, and you're going to cause everyone looking at you to go, what is that human doing? It's the same thing for doing the schoolwork. If you don't do your schoolwork, you won't achieve your goals. If you do, it will be in spite of it rather than because of it. Schedule. If you don't schedule the time to do it, if you don't block out time for something, whether it's self-care, doctor's office, anything, if you don't block out time for it, it does not happen. You've got to schedule your time and say, okay, this is a specific time that I will do this action. When I went to college, I found it useful to schedule a time that I would do my homework. And I would go and I would hide in study rooms, because when I became known as a good tutor, people would track me down. I'd be doing my homework and, okay, yeah, I'll help you because I feel for you right now and you're struggling, but I really need to do my homework. I'm learning too, you know? Keeping up on the coursework. The reason I have deadlines in this course that are based on when you join it is simple. I want you to have time to do the work and learn effectively. But if you think that you can put it off to the last second and master any material, that's like going to a performance where you're going to sing and never practicing the song beforehand. You may come out okay, but you're not going to land it. You're not going to have your American Idol moment. Ask questions. Please, for the love of everything, ask me lots of questions. You do not offend me by asking questions. You make me happy. My goal is not to understand the mathematics more in depth. If I have that goal, I take a class in it. My goal is to help humans understand it in depth. My degree is in elementary education because I wanted to know how to teach it in a way that really stuck with humans. I ask you to do weird stuff like tapping and things, and people get annoyed at this. Trust me, the research shows it's effective. But if you're not asking questions, then you're not learning. When I was in college the whole time, I didn't care. I was the top chef, blah, blah, blah. I was 30 when I went to college. Yes, I still had hair for those who wonder. With that in mind, I would raise my hand and ask a question, thinking, man, I must just be dense. These people are all understanding. And the professor would answer the question, and I'd see all these heads around me nodding in agreement. They weren't following it either. And it's not because the professor was bad, it's because sometimes when you teach something that may seem banal and elementary to you, like how to write an A, if someone's never seen it before, it's hard to them. And so you may forget, oh, they don't have this step mastered. Because your college professors are doing super advanced research and they're teaching advanced classes in between. So sometimes they may forget, oh, this class hasn't seen this foundational concept. With that, we do our best to break it down, but we cover everything K-12. As such, there are times where I'll break some things down, but if I were to truly break it down to the nuts and bolts of the situation, we'd never get through a class because there are so many ideas going on at once. With that in mind, if I'm throwing out weird stuff at you, I'm putting hooks in your brain for us to attach ideas to later on in your life. If you don't use them, it doesn't hurt anything. But the research shows that if I put out these hooks in your brain, even if it's way over your head, it benefits you because it makes a space in a filing cabinet or a space in a closet for that idea later on. So be aware that when you see me writing something on there, if I don't really go into detail on it, I just point out, and a good example is when I say dy dx or the change in y over the change in x. You don't need to know that to pass the GED. You don't even really need to know that unless you're going to go on to trade school or college and your trade needs it, or in college, you're going into the sciences. It will come up in general math, but it would be lightly touched upon. It's not something you need unless you're going to specialize in the sciences. But if you get used to seeing it, when you get to the super advanced stuff, then you're not lost. You're not feeling, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Also, be neat, concise, and accurate in your homework. What you do on your homework is what you will do on a test. If you skip steps on paper on homework, you will do it on a test. Whether it's the GED or whatever test, whatever habits you instill, you will use. And if you get used to being neat and concise, you will have better outcomes. As a severe dyslexic, I can tell you, the neater my homework was, the better my grades were, the better I tested. When I first started, my homework was not neat. When I left college, I'd have people walking by say, "You write like a girl," which I believe was meant to be a compliment for how neat my writing was. My class, you guys will routinely make fun of my handwriting, so I'm used to it. It's normal. I learned to write in Oklahoma. I am an Okie, so feel free to have fun with it. Here we have the table of contents. This just goes through everything that will be covered in this course. You're welcome to look through it, but if I was you at this point, I would go on to the home page and I would look here. So I want to kind of explain some of the setup for this class. Notice you have a to-do list over here. And notice that we have down below here at the very bottom. So I'm going all the way to the bottom. All the way down here, there's an attendance. If you attend class, it counts towards your attendance. With that in mind, what happens if I miss a class? What happens if I have to work? My boss may be a jerk and say, "No, you got to be at work." Well, I asked that I have this time off, boss, but well, I need you there. You can take off work later when it won't help you. You do what your boss says. When you go here, you'll have the lesson. On it, if you see here, this is the Zoom link that you can use to join. This just joins the Zoom class in general. So anytime I'm holding a Zoom meeting, this will bring you there. This is a YouTube channel that when you go to, you've got a listing of my classes. And with that, you have the ability to go over any of the subjects. It's all on the list, basics of mathematics. So you go to the day you missed. Say I missed day 1.5, and you can watch the whole thing right then, right there. You download this artifact. You can download it. You can ask us for a workbook, whatever helps you best. With that, you get a paper for class notes. I don't want you to struggle keeping notes in the classroom. My goal is to teach and to have you get major ideas. So I give you the notes from the lesson ahead of time. You could download all these, ask for them in a workbook if you want. You don't have to stress it. If you don't get to it till later, you download this, you fill it in. If you don't have access to a printer, we'll print them for you. We are here to help. When you do that, you can then upload this item. When you upload those notes, that is how I know you attended that class. So that's how you get attendance points. Now, that's one option. Attending in person, you'll get the points. Another option is if you test out with a 90% or higher on the chapter test, you don't have to attend the class to get excused from it. Now, the grades here don't matter. They're for your records only. You won't get high school or college credit from it. It's just a way of you measuring your own individual progress. So that's how we do the attendance module. Your due date will be based on when you join. And with that, don't stress the small stuff. I have full control over this system. We can work out anything that we struggle with or get frustrated by. Here you have the text. You don't need the textbook, but if you want a copy, we can get you one. Here you have the lesson. Here you have videos from other teachers teaching the same ideas. Not everyone clicks with my learning style, teaching style, and that's okay. You don't have to like the way I teach for you to get value out of this course. You can find another person on YouTube or any platform that's free and have them teach it to you. As long as what they're teaching is mathematically accurate, you'll never hear me complain. With that, you can go through and you can do these assignments. Notice it asks, what is the place value of 9 in 5291? I'm going to say, well, that's clearly the 100,000s, right? Because there's 100,000 there somewhere. Not really. Notice when I click submit, it says 998 tries on this question remaining. So technically there is a finite number of tries on a question. Technically there is a finite number of questions you can do. But if you go through 1,000 tries per question with 1,000 questions total, when we're talking a digit that's at most like 10,000 in the digits, hundreds, thousands, yeah, it means that you need to come see me. I'm going to help you with it. The goal of this is to give unlimited practice. Well, Matt, what if I come in and the machine's arguing and it's like, no, this was due and you should have turned it in. Do it anyways. Do the practice. When you do the practice, you just send me an email saying, hey, Matt, I did this. It's saying it doesn't count for a real score. Okay. And I can look at it and we can update your score. Because the goal here is not to get you an A++. It's to get you mastery of the idea. If you already know something and you skip ahead, you'll never upset me. This course is intended to go at your own pace. So you can fly ahead of me, you can lag behind. I just tell you statistically what to expect based on your goals. So that's how that works with the actual homework. You have unlimited attempts to get it right. And then when you get it right, so here we can say, get a similar question. Now I'm going to put that the 8 is in the tens. Submit question. See, my practice score went up to 1. I don't have to get zeros on any assignment. I don't have to feel like a failure if I misunderstand something. If I'm consistently getting things wrong, it's my sign that 1, I may need to take a brain break, or 2, I need to go talk to the teacher. It's the teacher's job to teach me. Is there power in the struggle? You bet. But there's also a point where you need help. In weightlifting, when a spotter spots you, they give just enough force lifting that weight for you to finish the rep. In education, that's what I want to do. I want to help you build that muscle. I'm going to give you just enough help to lead you to the epiphany. I'm not going to give you answers. If you're struggling to find answers, if that's your goal, answers don't concern me. I care about process. I know that makes people crazy all the time. Well, 2 + 2 is 4. Very true. But I care about the process of 2 + 2 is equal to 4. Because are we talking 2 items in 2 piles? 2 times 2? Or are we talking about 2 piles of 2 things, putting them together? There are differences. So if you come to a right conclusion, but your logic is flawed, then I'll point out how it's flawed. And that's my job too, to make you think like a mathematician. Don't sweat it if you struggle to understand it. If you're one of the humans who believes you can never understand math, I invite you to watch the work of Dr. Barbara Oakley. She talks about how she didn't understand math, and now she's a physics professor. And for anyone who's not aware, physics is what happens when story problems and math have an unholy child together. Like seriously, physics is what comes out. So that's how we do the homework and how we navigate around in this Canvas. If you struggle, email me, contact me, come in and see me. Send Angie a note, send Scott a note, send any of us a note. You will be helped. If you bring me the will, we will find a way. If you find you're behind in the homework, dedicate more of your time to it. It's one of those hard things, but that's a great skill to learn, especially if you're headed to college. Some of my classes when I was in college, I would budget 2 hours for homework. I'd use maybe 15 minutes. Some of my classes, I would budget 2 hours of homework, and it would take me 4 hours to complete the assignment. Why? Different levels of proficiency. Now, could I get it to a point where I could do that assignment that took me 4 hours in an hour? Easily. Now I'm a lot faster at math than I was then because I've mastered it a lot better than I had it then. And that's the goal, is to teach you how to learn and how to notice your limitations and when to start looking around at things and how to really maximize your experience. Are there any questions on how the Canvas works? Yeah? What school? If you download the Canvas app, it will ask you for the school. And what it's asking for you is at the very beginning, and here I'm going to change my screen that I'm on the projector so that people at home can see this too. What it's asking for, if you notice here, is it says adulted.instructure.com. That's what it's asking for. So the school is actually adult ed. I could go through our local school district's Canvas, but I choose to use the adult ed Instructure. The reason being that I can share this statewide with other programs. My goal being to allow more math specialization out into communities, especially some of the rural communities who don't have teachers who teach it. And the other goal is to make sure that if you move schools or whatever, that I can give them access. So on that, your school would be adult, let me change pens, adult ed. Okay, wait, scroll down. Okay, so put adult ed together.
Mount Diablo.
No, we're not in Mount Diablo. Undo that and try USB-E. No? Huh. Try the full school URL. So that's what I would do here. So if it's all right, may I take a picture of your phone? I'm going to just take a picture here because, well, I ask, it's not my property. I know. I can't help it. I try to respect everyone's privacy. Could you turn your screen back on and we'll get it where we can take a picture? Eh. Eh. Okay, so on this, it's asking me, what's your school's name? You had put in USB-E. Will you let me write? We're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is what we type in is adult ed dot instructure.com. So I'm going to erase this and rewrite it, and adult ed dot instructure.com. Now, if you're somebody who does not have a login, you can email Scott. Hit enter, hit go. Perkins. Not sure what's going on there. It's got an unknown error. Yeah. INSTRUCTURE. I know my writing's hard to read, but you try writing on these things. It takes time to get used to. My writing has improved immensely. TRUCTURE. That's your login. That's where you use your login. The email address that was used initially. Yeah. I like the dark thing. It's not the dark side of the force, it's the dark theme. Yeah. I make no guarantees. What I would say is that we officially support the usage of our school-based Chromebooks with accessing it and using it. The app sometimes can be glitchy. I don't like to use the apps as a teacher. They aren't as friendly for grading and things for what I do. They're designed for more of your traditional school than I represent as a GED teacher. Oh, I meant to scroll.
So it's better that we turn in our homework personally.
You can do your homework on there and it'll track it. Well, no, it's automatically graded. But if you need to turn something in, it can be difficult because you have to take a picture. If you struggle with technology, don't let that stop you from being successful. I will use the good old technology of paper and pencil or pen and pencil or whatever we need to get you where you're going. So if you're someone who's struggling with the tech, don't let it be what inhibits you. You can do whatever you want. Just make sure it's school appropriate is all I ask. But yeah, you do you, man. You find joy where you find joy. You do you.
So yeah, so I just take a picture on my phone and then just send it to you and then that's it.
That's if you need to upload something, yeah. But you can, anything that you need to upload to me, you can email to me, you can hand it in to me. I'm flexible. I don't require that you only have one modality of showing mastery. You can show mastery via any method that fits you. At the end of the day, I don't care how you show the mastery. I'm happy that you can show the mastery. Because for me, it's not about the work itself, it's about seeing you get the skills you need. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention here, I'm going to turn this back over to Canvas real quick. I wanted to show you guys how testing works in Adult Ed because a lot of questions have come up about it, which means maybe I didn't review it well. Maybe people weren't here. Who knows? These things happen. But we'll have a look here. So let's go here, Google Chrome. On this is the actual, this is the Canvas system that we're using and everything. And I absolutely love using Canvas. It has a lot of great tools. It's not perfect, but it works very well for a lot of what we do. I wanted to show you guys in the assignments something weird I do. I was just talking about showing mastery. Well, Matt, what if I hate testing? That's okay. I don't care to test either. The official test I took to be a teacher, I was falling asleep during it. And I wrote them angry letters because they were lying to people about math. It said their score was like D+. I was bored out of my mind. So I asked for the raw data and they're like, no, you can't have that. But wait, raw data on a math test is not allowed? Wait, you people make no sense to me. Whatever. With that in mind, you can take a unit 1 test here for 30 points. Or you can do a review and or project out of 0 points possible, and you can get 20 points for doing the review and 10 points for doing a project. Meaning 30 points out of 0 when we don't divide by 0. So what is going on there? It's out of 0 because 0 is the maximum the machine's going to use to tabulate it. But the column it's in for the grade, it replaces that test score of 30 points. So if you're someone who struggles with testing, do the review. Trust me, the review is a lot more work than the test itself. I intentionally make it so. The project, if you can do the project, you understand it. With that, you can do the project with a group of friends, anyone you want. Learning does not have to be done as individuals locked in rooms. Now, if someone else does all the work, will you master it? No, and that brings me to my next point. I have full discretion on this. If I don't think you've mastered something, I can ask you questions. And if I ask you questions and I don't see the level of understanding that would be required to do what you've done, then I will question it thoroughly. It's sort of like my rule for grading your homework. If you hand me in homework that I grade, it needs to be neat. I need to see every step. With that, if you skip steps to do it in your brain, I don't mark you down. However, if I can't see reasonably the steps to do it in my head, then I just give you a similar problem and ask you to work it in your head. It's real easy. Because if you know the material, I'm not going to make you stumble. But if you're suddenly doing level advanced math, and trust me, I see it in my head, I can sometimes see it and I'll still ask you because it's just above the level I would expect out of you, which means either our diagnostic test is off or my educational instructional level is off. Everything's about assuming the best out of every human I work with. that we all have the same goals and things. I never go after people for cheating. However, I warn you, people try it on occasion. I don't understand why. It doesn't help them. And if you are someone who gets caught cheating, I promise it's not a fun experience with me. If you plagiarize someone's work and suddenly I'm asking you why you made choices in the vernacular used and things, it's a very uncomfortable situation. And I revel in it because I find it amusing when people try to beat the system and get caught. At the same time, if you cheat, the grades don't count. You're just cheating yourself. Because you can master this material here and now and pay me $0 to do it because the Iron County taxpayer and the state of Utah taxpayer have been kind enough to fund it. Or you can go pay, I think the tuition's now up to like 3,500, close to $4,000 with fees and things. I could be wrong. At the local university for someone to teach it to you and have a grade that it's actually on the line. If you're headed to college, I highly recommend you take advantage of these courses. I can put you all the way through college algebra, and the cost to you will be $0. So take advantage of that. Any questions? And with that, I'd like to point out in college, you buy your own books. Math books run about $100 each starting. So my calculus book was $200. My engineering physics book was $200. And that's before the inflation that's hit. My daughter, she attended last semester, and one of her arts books was $400. And I said, for an art book? Granted, it covered a lot of content, but it was a 1-semester class. My calculus book is a 3-semester class. My physics book is a 2-semester class. So trust me, if you want to know how money's made off of education, look into textbooks. It'll make your blood boil. Any other questions or concerns today? All right, if you guys have any trouble at all with the Canvas, once you're there, I'm your guy. I'm happy to help. Scott can also help with basic navigation, but Scott is the guy who's in charge of putting everyone into what classes and everything. He'll help you making sure you're into the Canvas. You can log into Chromebooks, those kind of things. So thank you all for coming out today. Hope you had fun. Sorry we didn't have anyone online, but we'll get there.